Hey, this is Liam Kenny with CarsxHype. Today we're going to teach you how to do an oil change on your car. I know a lot of you guys probably already do this, but there's probably some people out there who are still taking their car to Jiffy Lube, spending money, not getting their cars taken care of properly. Today we're going to be using this awesome made in the USA Purelator filter. Really like these, good with synthetic oil. And we're going to be using the awesome German Liquivani oil. And we're going to be putting it in a Swedish car which does not take sides. Alright, so we're going to go through the basics of the things you need for an oil change. First off, and probably most importantly, but of course everything in an oil change is important because if you miss something, things are usually going to go badly. But you need to have an oil pan. You got to have somewhere to drain the stuff. It's hazardous. You got to have somewhere to contain it. You can take your used oil to an AutoZone or most any parts store or oil change place. They'll gladly take it for free. What you of course need is oil itself. In this case, the Saabs like the 0840, and a lot of turbocharged cars do. Thirdly, you're going to need a filter. Like I said, we go with the Purelator synthetic. It's a really good filter, made in the USA, and that's all good stuff. Furthermore, what you're also going to need is, if you aren't working on a lifted car or a truck or something like that, you're probably going to need a jack to put it up on. You might see two jacks here. We use one jack to primarily put up the car. We use another one as a safety, just to make sure that the car isn't going to fall over. Alright, so the first step to doing an oil change is going to be to jack up your car. It's important to remember when jacking up a car that they're designed with specific places that you need to jack them up from. You can't just jack them up from anywhere. You'll end up bending your frame. All sorts of bad things can come with that. Furthermore, I'd also like to mention that get yourself a real jack. You can get one from any auto parts store or any hardware store for next to nothing. Using the one that comes with your car oftentimes is really dangerous. I've known people who've had cars fall on them. They end up going to the emergency room. All sorts of bad things come with that. So now's the time that we're going to go and find our lift points on the car. A lot of times on European cars, you're going to see a little kind of black plastic or rubber square to lift the car from. So the first thing we do is locate that. So here we go. Alright, now that we've got the car up in the air and we've got our safety jack underneath it, it's now time basically to do our little checkovers up here. First off, you're just going to want to check your fluids and stuff, make sure everything looks good up here. You got the hood open, it's a good time to do it. Secondly, we're going to go ahead and take off our oil cap and dipstick. Now in a Saab, this is all the same thing. Chances are in your car it isn't. You need to do that just to make sure all the oil drains down, gets into the oil pan, so when you get the change, more of your oil actually gets changed. Now, it's time to go underneath the car. Alright, now that we got the oil cap and everything else off and everything checked over, it's now time to actually commence with the real oil change. There's a lot of working up to it, but nonetheless, let's get started. First off, we're going to go ahead and position our drain pan. That's going to have to go underneath our drain plug itself. Now, you want to position it back a little bit because typically when the oil first starts coming out, it goes flying. It gets everywhere. You get wrecked if it's pointing towards you. Thankfully it's not, and I'm not going to end up too covered in oil, hopefully. So, here we go. Let's get it off, and let's get it started. Now that we've got this, it's all loose, good to go. You should be able to finger tighten it the rest of the way out. So, here we go. Let's hope we don't get oil everywhere. Be sure not to lose the bolt. Get a drain pan with a grate. It's usually easier than fishing your bolt out of a pan that's completely full of oil. And there it goes, and it's toasty. Also, good note, wait till the car's cooled off. It's Texas, it's summer right now, everything's hot. So this just is basically outside temperature. It's probably, about 140 degrees. No big deal. So, once this is drained, it's going to take a minute or two. Let it drip out, let everything get out of the system, and then we're going to go ahead and take off our filter and put in the new one. Alright, now that all the oil's drained, we're going to go ahead and put in the drain plug. I like to just go ahead and finger tighten this thing. If you think you're going to forget to tighten it up later, just go ahead and hit it with the ratchet now, but I won't just because I like to do it later. I like to live dangerously. Alright, so now to the next thing. Now that that's in, we're going to go ahead and get the oil filter off. Now, you're also going to need the drain pan for this. This can get messy. And I'm going to move this nice, pretty, clean Purelator filter out of the way. Alright, so just as an FYI on this one, oil is going to not be quite going into the same specific place like it did when we pulled the oil drain plug. This might go a little bit of everywhere. The most important thing to remember, when you take this off, try and get it facing upward as quickly as possible, so that way you don't have to have it go and spill everywhere. Look at that blackness. It almost looks like it's crude oil. Alright, let's get this guy the rest of the way off. Might take a second. Like I said, get it holding up. It works like a cup. It's pretty easy. Then make sure you get it flipped down and get it straight into there. Just go ahead and leave it in here while you do the rest of the oil change, since we're almost finished. Alright, now we're going to take our new filter. We're going to grab some oil off of somewhere. You can either use new oil or you can just take a dabble of what's coming out of the oil filter mounting bracket. You just get the edge of the filter done up, nice and lubricated. You want to make sure not to skip this step, because sometimes when you go to take off a filter, the old O-ring will get stuck on there, and all sorts of bad things happen when that goes down. So, now that we've got that, let's go ahead and get the new filter on. Just screw it in. Great thing about this filter, one thing that I really like about it is it's actually grippy. It's got almost like a sandpaper surface on it. Alright, so basically what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to get your filter to contact. So basically just spin it on. When you start feeling resistance, you need to only put on about another half a turn after that, and it'll be just fine. So here we are, right at about a half a turn. So that's on there. Now we're ready to go ahead and fill up the oil. Just a reminder, torque down your drain plug. I already got that. So make sure you do that before you start adding oil, or you're just going to lose all of your oil, and that's a bit pointless. So anyways, now we're going to go ahead and add our oil. You need to know how much you're adding. Look at your owner's manual, check online. If you've got modifications like a bigger oil pan, you're definitely going to need to know how much oil is going to go in there. Overfilling it is as bad as underfilling it. Overfilling it, you're going to blow out catalytic converters, O2 sensors, all sorts of stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and add the oil. In this case, it's 4 liters of oil. I couldn't find my right funnel, so this one's going to have to do, and it's working well from the looks of things. Alright. Now that we're pretty much sure we've added the right amount of oil, go ahead and find a flat surface and put your oil down on the ground just to make sure. They usually have these nice little convenient things that tell you, where each liter or quart is. So in this case, we've got 4 quarts. This container's 5, so we need about a quart left over. So now I'm going to go and check that. Then we're just in the process of buttoning up the car. And now we're going to go through the process of putting down the car. Pretty straightforward. Make sure nobody's underneath the car, because you wouldn't want to squish them unless you don't like them, but I'm not going to condone that. Then make sure there's nothing else underneath the car, and go ahead and let the car down slowly. If you got one of these jacks, it can be a little tough. Cheap Harbor Freight ones, but be careful. Either way, we're going to let down the car. Now that the car's been let down, it's important to check your oil levels before starting it up for the first time. You don't want to have too little oil. You'll blow up your motor, or it'll tap, or something horrible like that. I did it with my Land Rover. Bad idea. Anyways, let's take this out, check your oil levels. Looks like we're all good. All we got to do now is start up the car, check for leaks, and then we'll be done. Alright, now that we've gone through our first startup, it's important to check the oil again. You're going to lose a certain amount of oil just through going through the engine and through the oil filter, which is going to soak up a certain amount of the oil. So let's check it one last time. It looks like we're a little low. Let's add a little more. Yeah, seriously though, why are we low? Like, come on, car. Don't be so thirsty. Don't be greedy. You ain't gotta be like that. And now we're done with our oil change. We added a little bit of oil just to add for the soak up and all of that stuff from the oil filter. So everything's good now. This thing's gonna run awesome for the next 3,000 miles. I really don't recommend pushing it further than that, especially if you have a car with known oil pressure issues. Don't skimp on it. It's cheap insurance for your car. It's worthwhile, and it takes 30 minutes. Honestly, best thing you can do to keep your car running awesome for the rest of its life. Thanks for watching our oil change DIY. Stay tuned to CarsxHype for more awesome content to come in the future. We got a lot for you.